State of the Union. Do a little recap on that. Trump and Heavy D are spatting. Julie Kelly is here. Josh Hammer is here. It's going to be a fun night on I'm Right. We made it. You made it. I made it. Reach back and pat yourself on the back right now. We survived the State of the Union. It's kind of boring, isn't it? And kind of frustrating. You sit and you watch and they lie. And they lie and they lie and they lie and they have the bully pulpit to lie. In general, there's not even very much debate, although last night there was some, which was odd. But before we get to Joe Biden and the lies and everything else in the story from last night, let's focus on what was most important last night. Me. You see, if you tuned in to the first to watch the State of the Union, as you should, you would have gotten to enjoy Kelly Cam like many did.
Winning the competition should unite all of us. We face serious challenges across the world. Or your child gets deadly ill, or something happens to you.
Bump it.
What are you going to have to get money to pay
Bump
for
it.
those medical bills?
Spin it.
Or you're going to have to sell the
High
house
score.
or try to get a second mortgage on it. I get it. Restoring the dignity of work means making education an affordable ticket to the middle class. You know, when we made public education, the children to go to preschool are nearly 50% more likely to finish high school and go on to earn a 2 or 4 year degree, no matter their background they came from. Passing the most sweeping gun safety law in 3 decades that the majority of responsible gun owners already support. Would we stand for the most basic of principles? Would we stand for sovereignty? Would we stand for the right of people to live free of tyranny? Would we stand for the defense of democracy?
I'm glad you enjoyed. We certainly did here. All right, back to what are the stories from last night? One of the more interesting moments that's getting a little bit of play out there was, well, Doug. Who is Doug? Doug is Dome's husband. What's that make him? The second man? I don't know. It's really weird. I'm still coming around on this first man, second man, whatever he is. He's Vice President Dome's husband. And he was hanging out with the real president, Jill Biden, last night, the foremost elder abuser in the country. And man alive, I got to tell you, there's been all these rumors about tensions between Joe Biden and Dome and how Joe doesn't like Dome and Jill doesn't like Dome. And I'm glad these two could come together. All right. Look, I'm not going to make a big thing of it. It's not going to be the end of the world. But how much odd do we have to see from these people before we accept that maybe there's something more there than them just being a little off? And I'm talking about all these politicians, all these DC swamp types. Joe Biden's history is checkered, to put it mildly. Jill Biden and Joe Biden's history is odd. My goodness, we're not even going to go into Dome's history because it's a kid's show. We can't even talk about her escapades. Now, smooching on the lips. We have a really gross government full of gross people. Probably just going to go ahead and leave it at that. All right, let's get on to the real thing. What did you hear? What didn't you hear last night? Well, here's the problem for Joe Biden. Joe Biden has nothing he can brag about. That's just the real truth. He has nothing he can brag about. And honestly, this is his own fault. He surrounded himself with communists. He himself is a weapons-grade corrupt idiot, and he's allowed his whole administration to be taken over by these nutballs. And so they've taken over, and communists have done what communists do. They've destroyed everything they could find. From the border to energy to you name it, they've destroyed it. The value of the dollar, they've waged a war against all these things, the things you rely on, and it's been a very, very successful war. Well, if you're president of the United States of America and your approval numbers are in the tank, and you get all the numbers about inflation and people living paycheck to paycheck, and no one's happy with you at all. At this point, Joe Biden's staring at poll numbers from Democrats who don't want him to run again. So what are you going to do? You got to do something for an hour. Look, you got to give the speech. What are you going to do? Joe Biden's going to do what Joe Biden did. He's going to lie. He's going to throw money and he's going to lie. The Medicare Social Security lie, this might be a first in history, and this is what I mean by this. Joe Biden, as we've talked about a lot on this show, is the biggest liar in the history of the presidency. And I say that again as somebody who knows that every president lies. Republicans, Democrats, they all lie all the time. I'm not naive, I know that. Joe Biden tells these huge lies, easily verifiable lies, and he'll not only say them, he'll say them over and over again. Like, yeah, that's good. His own staffers have come to him and said, hey, can you stop saying that people couldn't own a cannon when the Second Amendment was ratified? Because that's not true, and that's very easy to verify. Could you stop saying it? But he won't. He just keeps going because he's a complete sociopath. And so last night was interesting to me because Joe Biden told a huge lie about Medicare and Social Security, and even he seemed a little uncomfortable saying it.
Instead of making the wealthy pay their fair share, some Republicans want Medicare and Social Security to sunset. I'm not saying it's a majority. Let me give you, anybody who doubts it, contact my office. I'll give you a copy. I'll give you a copy of the proposal. That means Congress doesn't vote. Well, I'm glad to see you. No, I tell you, I enjoy conversion. You know, it means if Congress doesn't keep the programs the way they are, they'd go away. Other Republicans say, I'm not saying it's a majority of you. I don't even think it's even a significant, but it's being proposed by individuals. I'm not politely not naming them, but it's being proposed by some of you. Look, folks.
Weird, right? And I did see some hand-wringing today about Republican conduct during the State of the Union. Oh my goodness, why were they so mean? Why aren't they respectful? This is what it is now. This is what our country is now, and I, for one, am here for it. Democrats want to behave like tiny children. Nancy Pelosi ripping up the State of the Union, all of them screaming and yelling, wearing white, the whole thing. You remember all these things when Donald Trump was president. Don't expect decorum now from the new right. The low-T GOP would have got there and sat on their hands and, well, we have to respect the office of the presidency. Those days are gone. You want to act like little children, you get treated like little children. Let's play these games. And look, Joe isn't doing well mentally. Does Joe have dementia? I don't know. Is it Alzheimer's? Is he just senile? I don't know. I haven't diagnosed him. I don't know that anybody has, nor am I qualified to do so. But I'm also somebody with eyes and ears. Joe Biden is not fit to be president of the United States of America. He's not mentally fit. And that has nothing to do with his politics. He can't do the job. We're on the precipice of potential World War III. China, maybe Russia. The commander-in-chief can't do the job. He can't do it. And so what do they do on these nights? Well, they do something to him, whatever that may be, to get him geared up because he has to speak for an hour after dark, and we all know he's been sundowning by then. So what happens is Joe gets all hopped up on something, and it messes him up because his mind doesn't work that well anyway. But then he starts slurring his words and forgetting where he was, and well, here he is.
And congratulations to Chuck Schumer, another term as Senate Minority Leader. If you try anything to raise the cost of precision jobs, I will veto it. Raise the cost of precision jobs, I will veto it. Let's commit ourselves to make the words of Tyler's mom true. Car prices went up, people got laid off, so did everything from refrigerators to cell phones. The United States of America, 13th in the world in infrastructure, modern infrastructure.
All right. And beyond the speech, I know I'm not supposed to make a big deal out of this. I'm not supposed to talk about it, but I'm sorry. Anyone who's worked around or been around or done any volunteer work or anything with people who are struggling with things like dementia and Alzheimer's, they know that walk. Mr. Producer, if you don't mind, would you play that again a couple times for me just so everyone can see it? I know it's just a little 5-second video. Look at how that human being walks. You know that gait. If you know, you know. You nurses who work around these people, you know that gate. Joe Biden has something significant wrong with his mind. It's actually sad. I'm really not making fun of him for it. It's sad. It's a terrible thing. It's probably visited your family in one way or another, God forbid, but it probably has. But he can't be president of the United States of America. All that may have made you uncomfortable, but I am right. We have the great Josh Hammer is going to join us next. We're going to talk about the latest Trump and Heavy D spat, talk a little bit about the State of the Union. It's such a fun show. Wait till you see what Julie Kelly has to say a little later on in the show. Before we get to any of that, let's talk about the sagging T levels. It's not just your boobs that are sagging, fellas. It's your T levels. 50%. Testosterone levels down 50% in the last 50 years. That's a big deal. That's the end of a nation if it doesn't turn around. If we are going to turn into a nation of low T weenies, we're not going to make it. Chalk, the anti-communists, my friends at Chalk, they're trying to change it naturally, not more big pharma stuff, naturally. Go see their supplements, natural herbal supplements, whatever your ailments are. Maybe you have low T, maybe your lungs are bad, look, go see what they have. They're offering 35% off every subscription, which you can cancel anytime, by the way. 35% off at chalk.com with the promo code Jesse. Go see what they have. Put away the pill bottle. Natural herbal supplements. Chalk.com, promo code Jesse. We'll be back.
We face serious challenges across the world. But in the past 2 years, democracies have become stronger, not weaker. Autocracies have grown weaker, not stronger. Name me a world leader who changed places with Xi Jinping. Name me one. Name me one.
Still not quite sure what he was saying. Who changed places with... Joining me now, my friend Josh Hammer, the opinion editor at Newsweek, host of the Josh Hammer Show, which I'm very proud to say is growing and growing well. Good for you, my friend. I am proud of you. Josh, changed places with Xi Jinping? Now, you know I'm stupid, Josh. We've known each other a long time. We've broken bread together. Can you explain that to me from someone with an education?
Jesse, you know what? I'm speaking here. I'm on the road this week. I'm in Chicago for a bunch of speaking engagements. I had to say, I actually missed all but the last 20 minutes or so of Joe Biden's State of the Union last night. I didn't want to tell you beforehand in case you would cancel on me. But what I saw was more than enough. To get the gist as to how this thing went down. I mean, when I heard Joe Biden try to say towards the end of that speech that he was tough on China, he tried to do the whole, oh, I'm tough on China thing. China's not scared of me. Xi Jinping's not scared of me. We just let a surveillance spy balloon, I mean, really a UFO, an unidentified flying object, we let that thing cross the entire North American continent, from Alaska to Montana to Kansas to South Carolina. I mean, what an astounding display of weakness. Absolutely shocking. So for him to have the gall, and, you know, a lot of folks on our side of the aisle, Jesse, because I've seen a lot of kind of takes today saying that Joe Biden was trying to sound America first, buy American, let's bring manufacturing back. I agree with all of that. I very much am kind of a let's kind of bring supply chains, manufacturing back home kind of guy here. Here's the key point, and it relates to China. That's why I'm bringing it up. Joe Biden was the man in 2001 when he was a senator from Delaware who single-handedly did more than anyone else to get China to join the WTO, the World Trade Organization. And China's ascension to the WTO single-handedly did more than any other event probably over the past 30, 40 years to get American manufacturing, American jobs out of the American heartlands, out of the Rust Belt over there. So he is smoking some serious crap when it comes to this issue. But, you know, I guess Hunter Biden probably has a large stash of that, I guess.
Gosh, you probably. Okay, Josh, the GOP response, if you only caught the last 20 minutes of the speech, I doubt you saw very much of Sarah Huckabee Sanders of Arkansas. Here's a little snippet of it.
President Biden is unwilling to defend our border, defend our skies, and defend our people. He is simply unfit to serve as commander-in-chief. And while you reap the consequences of their failures, the Biden administration seems more interested in woke fantasies than the hard reality Americans face every day. Most Americans simply want to live their lives in freedom and peace. But we are under attack in a left-wing culture war we didn't start and never wanted to fight. Every day we are told we must partake in their rituals, salute their flags, and worship their false idols, all while big government colludes with big tech to strip away the most American thing there is, your freedom of speech. That's not normal. It's crazy, and it's wrong.
Josh, I don't know that I ever take much stock in rebuttals, GOP or Democrat rebuttals. Thought she did pretty well. I'm hopeful we might have somebody here.
So unlike the State of the Union, I actually did make it home in time to catch all of Sarah Huckabee Sanders' response. I thought it was very compelling. I thought she did a very good job. It actually, most of the time, the State of the Union responses are not particularly memorable. We all remember Marco Rubio with the water bottle, Bobby Jindal when he was a rising star. He kind of infamously flubbed his State of the Union response. So these responses, typically speaking, these are actually very dangerous. It's very possible that you will mess it up more often than will actually increase your stature. But I thought this was the exception rather than the rule. I thought, if anything, Sarah Huckabee Sanders comes away from this a much more kind of reputable figure. And I was already predisposed to like her. I've met her. She comes across as charming. She's informed on the issues. She's off to a great start there in Little Rock in the governor's mansion. She was very good. She was exceptionally well-spoken. And, she said one thing in that clip that you just showed the viewers here. She spoke of false idols. I love this term. That is a wonderful, wonderful term that I wish more conservatives, more elected Republicans would talk about. The left has so many false idols. They make false idols out of people like the great martyr, the St. George Floyd himself. He's a martyr. He's an avatar, a false idol for Black Lives Matter. There are any number of other false idols, so-called Leah Thomas when it comes to the transgender swimming issue. They have false idols on all of these woke intersectional identity politics coalition. So if we can kind of frame this broader kind of cultural civilizational struggle, as Sarah Huckabee Sanders framed it, between normalcy and sanity, because that really is, frankly, the choice that is before the American voters at this point. If we can frame it as authentic kind of, religion, kind of authentic kind of Americanism versus false idols, that's a very good framing. I think she's onto something there.
Josh, oftentimes you can tell some things by what people don't say. And I'll be honest with you, this didn't stand out to me. I watched her whole speech as well. But the Trump people certainly picked up on this. She didn't use his name last night, even brought up some things that she had done with him and abstained from using his name. Now, politicians like that don't do things like that on accident. The Trump people are a little peeved about it today. What do you say?
I'll be honest with you. I also did not notice that. You telling me this right now is the first time that I'm hearing that. I don't know. I honestly would not make a whole ton of that, to be honest with you. I suppose it's intentional here. But look, the reality is that, there's going to be a competitive primary when it comes to the Republican presidential field in 2024. Ron DeSantis has not announced yet, but all indications are that he probably will. There's, Nikki Haley, apparently. I don't think she's going to win, but she's going to get in here soon. John Bolton, who's obviously also not going to win, kind of sort of announced. So there's going to be a big field here, is the point. And, I think it would be silly, frankly, for Sarah Huckabee Sanders to try to kind of tip her hand as to who she may or may not be supporting. Look, she is the youngest governor in the country, as she told America last night during her response. She is young. She is hungry. She's ambitious. She's gotten in there in Little Rock. She's passing all sorts of good legislation. She was able to kind of tick off some of the boxes last night. Let her focus on the job that she is trying to do. And there's no reason to kind of play the whole kind of presidential politics thing. She was very good, by the way, as White House press secretary. I thought she did a great job in that role. Clearly, it helped kind of elevate her stature to allow her to kind of run for governor. So to that extent, I think that she should be grateful, obviously, to President Trump and everyone who kind of helped her get that role in which she thrived. But this general idea that anyone who served in the Trump administration kind of owes a lifelong kind of vow of loyalty where you will always mention the former boss's name at every opportunity, that's just silly. There's no other way to say it. That's frankly just silly.
Trump obviously had some social media posts that were making the rounds yesterday. Just toss a little mud at Heavy D. That's what people do in the primary. Ron DeSantis came out today and did what he's been doing and basically just said, look at the scoreboard. Here it is.
And I'd also just say this. I spend my time delivering results for the people of Florida and fighting against Joe Biden. That's how I spend my time. I don't spend my time trying to smear other Republicans.
Josh, it's obviously to anybody with an IQ above a potato what's going on. Trump is trying to drag DeSantis into the mud because Trump's a brawler and that's where he prefers to fight. DeSantis is going to ignore him very clearly as long as possible and point at the scoreboard. The question is, who's that working better for?
I mean, as of right now, I think that Donald Trump is losing a shadow primary to someone who has not even entered the presidential field yet. I mean, this is very, very icky behavior. But you're right, Jesse. I mean, it is a bit of a throwback to 2016. I mean, full disclosure, I was not a day one Trump supporter in 2016. I was a Ted Cruz guy in that primary. And I remember all too well, I think it was March of 2016, if I'm not mistaken, or at least it was right around that time, when Donald Trump and Roger Stone had the whole kind of National Enquirer thing with Heidi Cruz, Ted Cruz's wife. It was all very kind of sordid stuff. And, you're right that this is the terrain on which Trump prefers to fight. But here is the wager that I think Donald Trump, or at least his kind of inner circle at Mar-a-Lago and MAGA world, what they're making right now. The implicit wager that they seem to be making is that it is that sort of, knockout, 10-round fight, knock him up above the head, very kind of dirty, kind of in the mud stuff. They are betting that actually is maybe why Trump won the primary and perhaps ultimately the general election in 2016. I view it very differently. I think that Donald Trump won that primary and won that election in 2016, partially because he's obviously a universal celebrity. The Trump name is kind of, it's interchangeable from Michael Jordan, Tiger Woods. It's a universally, globally recognized name. But he also substantively brought a lot of very important issues to the table. He talked about China. He talked about the border, immigration. He talked about trade in a fundamentally different way than any other candidate on either the right or the left was talking about it. So if I were advising Trump, which I'm obviously not, but if I were advising Trump right now, I would encourage him to focus more on those issues. What are you going to do if you actually are the president? This is such a waste, frankly, Jesse, of everyone's time. But I guess they think that this is how they won it the last time. So they're trying to kind of get the band back together, so to speak. But like I said, I think that right now, Ron DeSantis is winning this shadow primary, which is pretty good concerning he has not even entered the field yet.
Josh Hammer of the Josh Hammer Show. Be good, man. Enjoy Chicago. Get a Polish sausage.
All right, you too, Jesse. Talk soon.
I love Polish sausage. Chicago has some of the best Polish sausage sandwiches I've ever had. I need to get back to Chicago. Anyway, we're not done yet. We have more, a lot more. But first, let's discuss that Polish sausage, because once you eat it, you're going to be tired, right? It's a gut bomb. It is. It's good for you, but it's a gut bomb. You need to go lay down. Now, the question is, after you inhale your Polish sausage sandwich, are you going to go lay down on a crappy bed that's made in China? Or are you going to go lay down on a Ghost Bed, which is a family company, and it's American-made, and it's also the best freaking mattress ever? You're going to lay down on a Ghost Bed, especially now, because they're 30% off. 40% off if you choose to get the adjustable base with it. Get the adjustable base. You will thank me for it. Go to ghostbed.com/Jesse. Promo code Jesse gets you 40% off the mattress when you combine it with the adjustable base. There's your sweet deal. Go sleep off that Polish sausage. We'll be back. All right, it's time to lighten the mood. And before we get to the hard-hitting journalism question I had for Chip Roy last night, let's get into this. Your Eden Pure thunderstorm, you should have more than one. Eden Pure knows this. They know you're fighting with allergies, and Eden Pure is busy fixing those, and it's busy killing the viruses and mold in the air and just making you and your family overall healthier. They know that, and they know you need more than one, so they're providing a service, a buy one, get one free service. EdenPureDeals.com, code Jesse, gets you buy one, get one free on the Eden Pure Thunderstorm. Go enjoy it. All right, here's me with Chip Roy and Scott Smith. Chip, I'm glad you brought up Anna Paulina Luna. She actually she's going to be part of our conversation on my show in the coming year as we put together our Jesse Kelly Show Bipartisan Hottest Women of Congress list. I just wanted your take. I've only hung out with her one time. Yours and Scott's, if you don't mind. Are we dealing with a number one contender here? Look, from the outside looking in, I believe we are, but I don't want to unfairly judge without having been there. Is she number one?
So, Jesse, here's the difference between me and you. I'm a member of Congress, and I have to go get elected. You can say whatever you want to say, however you want to say it. Now, I will say this. I was very proud to sit next to my wonderful colleague, Anna Paulina Luna, on the floor of the House tonight and share ideas and share our frustration with the President of the United States.
And I'm not sure if we're talking about
man, Scott, believe me, that's the best answer you could have given at that point in time. I'll see you tomorrow.